Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I got some more parts to install. Finally changing the seats on the Civic. I'll show you what I've bought. So I've got myself a pair of SR3 Recaros and they're on sliders. So I think red on red, a lot of red, can finally replace this driver's seat, mismatched driver's and passenger seat, and the stains on that one. And also when you're driving, it just does not hold you in at all. Now I'm hoping the red's going to match our accents in the middle and the shift knob. To mount these seats, I've got these rails, or these mounts that the rails will bolt to. So I've got a passenger and driver's side one to go in, and they've got the hardware under there. So I'll start with getting the old seats out, which I'll show you. To remove the seats, there's a bolt here and a bolt over here, and then you can slide the seat forward. You can see one bolt here and one on the other side. On the passenger seat, I just had to remove these two plastic trim pieces off the back two bolts of the seat. So we're ready to install the first rail or seat mount onto the sliding rails of the chair. So the bolts are going to go through these holes at the front and one of these sets at the back. So it depends on where you buy your rail from for how it's going to line up, but make sure this one's the driver's seat, the reclining handles on the door side, and on this side our seat belt buckle's going to go. On the mount, this tab on the side is for the seat belt buckle, and you might want to sit this in the car just to make sure that all the holes line up and the bolts go in it. So once you know that your seat rail's right, you want to just adjust these sliders so that they're just poking out the bottom like this, and you can actually put a bolt in from the bottom, and then also make sure that they are parallel to each other, because if it's on an angle it's going to make it hard for the bolt to go in. So just to align them, you can pull up on this, and I recommend just using a hammer, and you can just tap them up or tap them down just to get them level. So now they're level, we're just going to see which holes actually line up. I recommend when you put this rail on, or the seat bracket, that you just align it in the center. So you can see there's two holes there. You could go all the way to the front like this. So if you're short, you probably want to do that. And then your hole up here will change. But if I just align it and square it up with the rail, looks like that round one at the top is going to be our hole. And the first one here, the only hole is going to line up. And then we want to do the same on the other side. So first we'll feed the bolt through the back there and put the washer and the nut on, and then we'll slide the rail up to the top and do the same. Okay, so the bottom one's in. Now we need to slide up to the top. So now the rail is just protruding, and we can now feed the bolt through the back here now. Before we do up these nuts, you can see each one of these holes are slotted. So So we just want to center the rail. If you have an issue with the seatbelt buckle touching the center console, you can always slide the bracket across, or slide it that way so the seat moves across. Or alternatively, if the side of the seat is hitting the door, or if when you're sitting you don't line up with the steering wheel, you can use that adjustment to move the seat. So next we need to bolt our seat buckle onto here. We need to remove the old one off the other seat. So you just remove these two Phillips screws and then this 17mm bolt, and it will come off. On these Civic seats, since the nut, or where you thread the bolt in, is part of the bracket, you need to get yourself a matching nut, because you'll need to use these to sandwich the new buckle on there. With the buckle, there's also this little tang on the bottom, so you just need to bend that back or cut it off, because you won't be able to mount it on the seat without it being on an angle. Yeah, nut and bolt onto the bracket there, and just lined up in here so the seatbelt, it's not going to be stuck behind this part of the seat and wear it out. So next we just got to get the bracket into the car and put the bolts through the holes. With this seat rail bracket, the hole is actually bigger than the washer and the nut on the original bolt. So I've just got some other washers here to put the bolt through, just to make it slightly bigger so that it doesn't actually pull through the bracket. So when you do these up, you want to just do them all very loosely, because it's quite difficult to line them up. The other side I've already put in. The angle that these tabs are welded on weren't exactly the right angle for where it sits in the car, so you might have to use a hammer to bend them down into shape if it's pointing too far out, which I had to do on one of the front ones on that side. So the seat's sitting here in the middle at the moment, but once you get some bolts in, you can use the slider and move it forward and back, just so you can access the bolts at the front and the back easier. Okay, so I've got the two seats installed now. I had to hammer the front side over there because it was a bit dented from shipping, but it's gone in. One issue I found now is, because I need the seat all the way back because I'm quite tall and the belt buckle is on the rail, when you move the seat forward and back, it doesn't move with the seat. So when I have the seat all the way back, this belt buckle is behind the bolster. So I'm just going to undo the nut and bolt and just lean it back so that it lines up with here. Alright guys, that wraps up another install on the Civic. I'm really happy with how the seats look in the car. The height of the driving position hasn't really changed, so my head is still pretty much touching the roof. but now I feel a little bit closer to the steering wheel, and the pedal and the shifting feels more comfortable as well. Next video we're going to move on to some suspension mods, and I've got a traction bar to install and some solid engine mounts as well to put in. So you can look forward to that next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.